Can you guys hear me in the back? When I was walking up, I heard someone say, "That's the author T." Really? Somewhere over here. Yes, I am the author T. What were you saying? Am I short? Because you're pretty short. Just saying. Just saying.
I just saying it was you.
All right, it's okay. You're going to get it later. You're going to get an earful later, but I'll spare you now. I'm not the only author. This is my wife, Allison Glock-Cooper, who is the co-author. Say hello, Allison.
Hello,
Allison is a little shy. Allison's a little shy, so you're going to notice that I'm talking a lot, and it doesn't mean I'm just a jerk and misogynist. It just means that she won a bet, and I have to talk all the time. But she's going to talk a lot at the end and answer any questions you have about writing or her illustrious long career as a journalist, writing cover stories about all of your favorite people in the NBA and WNBA, and you can ask that later. Right on. Alright, so, okay, I noticed some of you guys, all of you guys, got copies of Changers Book 1, is that correct? Right on. You already read it, alright. So, oh, you're queued up, cool. Alright, here's what we're going to do. I'm going to read a little bit from the book, for those of you who've not read, and then read a little bit from Book 2 of the series, which just came out this week. Trailer that a kid, like a fan, made for us. So why don't we roll that, just as an intro. So that was just a little animation. For those of you who read, you might recognize the Changers emblem, which gets burned onto Changers' behinds, as you might remember, once they become Changers. All right. I'll show the next one after the reading, which is in the second tab. All right, raise your hand if you have read some of the book. Oh, it's a lot. Oh, maybe it doesn't make sense to read as much as we were going to. I'm going to read just a little bit from this book. Actually, it looks like almost all of you. I think I'll move right to book 2. Does that sound good?
Book 2!
All right. So everyone understands the concept of the series, of course, right? All right. You don't know you're a changer. You're in 8th grade, and no one tells you anything. You suddenly wake up in the morning of 9th grade, and you are in a different body, but you are still you on the inside. Of course, Ethan is our 9th grader, who wakes up as Ethan the boy wakes up as the girl Drew, both white. And it's a lot for Ethan to figure out how to be a girl. As you might remember, there are mean girls in school. There are boobs, other things that girls have to deal with. Boys, we're very, very lucky. We're not as good as girls, but we are lucky about some things. Just keep that straight. At any rate, what do you think Drew's going to turn into next? Raise your hand. Just a couple of you. What do you think? A boy?
A boy?
Okay, it's a boy. What kind of boy?
I think he's gonna turn to the like a girl that like in the shadow, but she's in the middle, so it makes sense.
Good thinking. Everyone, he's talking about the front of the book. Here's the front of Changers Book 2. If you have good eyes. Yeah, what do you think? Your hand up right there. What do you think? What do you think? Say a little louder. All right, good. Yes. That's a little bit of marketing. You're talking about where it says the cheerleader, the nerd, the jock, the freak. We can talk a little about publishing and how you kind of advertise books to people. We didn't actually follow that exactly, but I will reveal it now for you people only. I'm holding it in my hands. Drew becomes somebody named Orion, who is an African-American boy.
Oh, who's a genius?
And there he is on the cover. He's kind of like a Lupe Fiasco skater kind of boy, it turns out. So I'm going to read a little bit from once he becomes Orion, because if you guys have mostly read book 1, then you don't want me sitting here reading it to you. No. I don't think.
No.
All right. I'm gonna read. So you know how it's all, you know, these are Ethan Drew Orion's chronicles. So he just thinks his diaries, and they get downloaded to the mainframe computer, right? And they go by change 1, day 2, change 1, day whatever. So I'm gonna actually pick up on change 2, which is Orion, and day 2, which is his second day of being Orion. And okay, all right, change 2, day 2. I guess I never noticed how much high school cafeterias are like federal prisons. When I was Ethan, I went through an MSNBC lockup stage. In all of the episodes, there's meaning behind which tables the inmates self-separate into after they come inside from their hour in the yard. You know I know a lot about prison when I know it's called the yard. Anyway, in prison there's the white table, which I'm mentioning first because until now I've been raised as one of these people who would mindlessly be sitting at the white table while never giving it a second thought. After the plain white table, there's the white supremacist table. Lots of face tattoos over there. Then there's the Latino table, the mixed table, and the black table. It's always like that in prison. Rarely are there exceptions. I mean, sometimes there's some intersection and conflict among the white tables, as in, if you're white, you're either with us or against us, so you better be all white all the time, as in master race white, or you might as well sit with the blacks because you must love them so much if you don't hate them. One inmate at San Quentin said in an interview that he was now considered black inside because he wouldn't admit to hating blacks, so the whites shunned him, and the blacks took him in and protected him from the white supremacists who were always trying to shank him for being a race traitor. And I thought changers' lives were bewildering. While nobody's getting eyelid and inner lip tattoos of swastikas in high school, nobody at Central anyhow, except maybe Audrey's deranged brother Jason in his dreams, and the protection offered by affiliating with a particular group is more emotional than physical, it was made crystal clear for me today at lunch how much people stick to their tribes. I don't know why I didn't notice this before. Oh, right, because I'm passively racist and I had the luxury of not having to notice such things. Obviously a failing that I, as a changer of color, am now supposed to learn from, and I've been given this version of myself so I can spend the year figuring it out instead of wasting all my time fretting over whether Audrey still loves me. Last year, as an apparently empirically cute Caucasian freshman girl, I never found myself in the predicament I found myself in today, standing alone at the end of the food line, clutching my beige fiberglass tray, looking left, then right, then left again for somewhere to sit, watching all the already best friends clustered together, cutting up, sharing tater tots, spewing chocolate milk and stories about stupid crap that happened over the summer that is nowhere near as funny enough to inspire spit milk. Last year was like I had an instant soulmate in Audrey, and we sat together at lunch from the first day of school onward. But this year, while she certainly reached out to me after Homeroom the Remix, it wasn't like, hey, there you are, standing awkwardly like a giant doofus in your dad's green polyester cutoffs and yet another white undershirt, so stop looking so unfortunate and come over and sit with me and my girlfriends from JV cheerleading. Audrey did glance up at me with a flash of pity and gave a little pageant wave before transitioning that hand into pushing a strand of hair out of her eyebrow. But then she went right back to talking with Shuba and Em about who knows what. All of the rollicking good times she had at the restrictive, possibly a Biters-affiliated summer camp her parents forced her to go to with her psychotic brother. It was clear it would have been odd for me to plop down next to her and the girls I used to be on the cheerleading squad with. Well, odd for them at least. So I just craned my neck around, surfing the din and the chaos of the cafeteria, eyes lighting on the various segregated sets and subsets of groups, until I found a mostly empty table. I took a lonely seat and hunched over, shoveling in my gluey mac and cheese. Before I knew it, a few other kids, none of them white, started sitting around me, saying, "What's up?" and "Hey," and not even bothering with, "Yo, is it cool if I sit here?" Like it was simply where the black table was located today, and they'd obviously missed the memo. I nodded back, spearing salty, soggy green beans with a spork, intermittently eyeballing Audrey, who was sitting 4 tables up and 1 table down. "Yo, Urkel," I hear after a couple more soggy bites. I look up. "I heard you're from the ATL." It's a guy about my height, though buffer, with glasses and a crooked snapback Braves cap, sitting right across from me. I guess word about the new kid travels fast. I don't recognize him from around school last year, but then I probably wouldn't given he wasn't on the girls' cheer squad. I nod, a little scared he's going to start quizzing me on all things Atlanta, and I'm going to have to bluff or be outed as the guy who pretended to be from a city he wasn't from, which is almost as sad as my heart-rending dead parents' backstory. Mercifully, he doesn't wait for an answer. "I was born there," he says. "We moved here when I was 3. I still don't say anything. I just chew my runny metallic beans. "We go back once or twice a year to see my grandparents in Stone Mountain," he adds. "It's hot. I'm going to go to Morehouse or GSU. I nod my head like, "Oh yeah, GSU. "You don't talk much, huh?" he asks. "No, I do," I protest softly, my voice involuntarily lilting up like a girl. He furrows his brow, skeptical. I don't know what to say to this guy. Most of me can't stop reflexively thinking he's flirting with me. Why else would he be so nice? I can't help but operate like I'm still Drew. When will that stop, I wonder? I try to think of something to ask, but I don't really want to know anything. I just want to keep it simple, get my bearings, eat these beans, reconnect with Audrey, and then only then maybe worry about other people. I try to say, "So, you like the Braves?" Weak. "Yeah," he says, swiveling around his cap so the A logo faces me. "I like the Braves." Now he's making fun of me. I glance over toward Audrey, her table getting more crowded with a fresh round of girls juggling trays. "What's your name?" he asks. "Orion." "I'm DJ, Junior." He sticks out a hand. I shake it quickly. "DJ Junior," I repeat. "No, I am a junior," he corrects. "Oh, well, I'm a sophomore," I say. "I know," he frowns. And then after a second, "No offense, Orion, but there's like 20% of us at Central, and you're sporting more of a D-Wade shade, so it's not like you're going to slip under the radar like some high yellow. So do the math. That's like not a lot of black folks, so if you want to maybe have some allies, and if you can manage to stop ogling that white girl over there for a few seconds, then maybe I can show you around a little if you want." My cheeks flare. I feel so busted. I make a theatrical, disgusted face at him like, I am so not staring at any white girl. But it's so obvious that I am. Alright, we'll stop there. Book 2 is out right now. I wish it was opposite, because you can buy this book for 99 cents right now in honor of this one coming out. This one, book 1, you can get as an ebook for 99 cents now. Unfortunately, I don't have a way to get you these books now unless we come back next year. And then you'll be old and changing again yourselves. You won't even remember. I'm going to hold off on questions, especially since you're the one who passively insulted me when I walked in. And you're going to be paid back for that several times during this reading. Just kidding, sort of. We'll answer questions in a little bit, but actually I'm going to show another video right here. Okay, so do you guys remember the Bickersons in book 1?
Yes.
Okay, that's Drew's band that she joined. So, when last year when we were kind of doing a bunch of touring with this book, a kid who really loved the book, who's like, I guess he's in 9th grade, and he's autistic, he struggles with autism, but we gave him like a lyric from the song in the book, and he wrote this whole song about maybe you remember Soft Serve was the name of one of the songs they played at that like 13-year-old party, yeah. So, or Sweet 16 party. So a band put music to the words, and we played it at the Los Angeles Times Library with a bunch of kids your age were there too. So I was just going to show that. I think it's kind of fun to see how music and words and poetry and all that kind of intersects and collides when you're, you know, creating stuff. So this is soft serve. You might have to turn it up a little bit so they can hear it. Or a lot.
Right there. At first I thought you was my baby is chocolate, but you better right there. At first I thought you was a chili, colder than vanilla, but we fit better, the cherry and pie. You and I working in the soft serve. I wanna be cured, I don't need to say any words. So I should go. Bob is the tastiest bit. Come on, let's never quit. Getting romantic and mushy. These customers can be kind of pushy. Here's your last split. Don't have a fit. But her lips are inside this morning and she left me. Her laugh, she's embarrassed by being sexy. So how to go? Why should it go? Bottom is the tastiest bit. Come on, let's never.
Sorry if you couldn't hear that a little bit, but it's a very intense struggle about the supervisor and his worker, who, you know, it's a forbidden relationship, much like in Changers. Thank you so much. You can cut that out. So we're gonna tell you a little bit about us, so that just a little bit about our backgrounds and what brought us to YA and this book series, and then maybe you can ask some questions. It sounds like there are already a couple. So this is actually my 7th book, book 2, but this is my 2nd young adult novel. Allison and I have 2 kids. When we came up with this idea, they were both in middle school, and I don't know if you guys experienced this or your parents experienced this. I'm gonna guess they do, even if you're unaware of it, but sometimes you all wake up as like totally different people in the morning. And then the next day, you're another person in the morning. Sometimes you're scary, angry pterodactyls. Yes, and you don't know why. I totally get it. At any rate, we had a week of this with our kids, and one day it just hit us. We were literally sitting in the park with our dogs, and we were just like, what if there was a whole race of teenagers who changed every year? And that's where the idea came from. And you know, ideas come from anywhere, as I'm sure you guys know when you do your own creative writing. So anyway, so like I said, oh, the dogs are in the back of the book. That's right. Yes, they're the authors. At any rate, so like I said, I write adult novels mostly, and I've also written a nonfiction book, and then together as a team we write these YA novels, and we also write for television a little bit. We actually are just writing for a new TV show that's about the birth of hip-hop, and it's set in the Bronx in the late 70s, and it's really fun and exciting if it actually happens. So I'll let Allison finally talk. I know you're dying to hear from her, so am I. She's going to tell you a little bit about her career, and then we can do some questions. We can talk about the series, we can talk about writing, we can talk about whatever y'all want. Almost whatever y'all want.
Hi guys. I have to move this up. Sorry. Yeah, like T said, I also have written several books, mostly nonfiction, and I've been a journalist for 27 years or so. I know, I'm old. Thank you for reminding me. And I worked for Rolling Stone, New York Times, Esquire, GQ, ESPN for 12 years. And I mostly do the cover stories. So if any of you are interested in nonfiction writing or reporting or journalism or what it's like to insert yourself in these people's lives for brief periods of time and experience that, I'm happy to answer any and all questions about that type of work. What else? Do we want to do questions now, or is it too soon?
Now.
Now is good?
Now.
I've been told that now is good.
Now.
Too soon.
Now.
Yes. Ooh. Well, writing a book can take up to a year to 10 years. It depends on the book, the content. Nonfiction takes a really long time usually because you're researching more, whereas with fiction you're just imagining most of the time. And then the publication of a book takes about a year from when you turn it in to when it comes out on the shelf. So it's a really long process. I know. Yes? How did we come up with that? Oh, I'm sorry. How did we come up with the name Changers was the question. I think it just popped into our head, honestly, that day in the park as a name to describe. We kind of believe that all people change all the time and that you can be and become whatever you want to be or become, not just as a kid, but even as an adult. And we love that concept and the idea that it can spread empathy to other people. And we just felt like Changers was a word that sort of encompassed that. You're on the aisle.
I have two questions. One, when I took the cover for Drew, I didn't know, how come Drew is like really small? Drew said that she's not really like a teenager.
Well, some people are smaller than others. And Drew was short, because to be a cheerleader, I don't know, the older you get, you have to be fairly compact to do all the flips.
And also, why is Drew's last name Boner or Bonnie?
For comedy, because we thought that was funny. Did you think it was funny?
Yes.
All right, T, take over.
Also, it's just perspective, because she's in front in this one. Orion's, I don't know, we could ask the artist. Artistic license. All right, my tormentor, yes. What's your question?
They said you rescued 6 dogs, but it only shows 2.
Yes, kids, I don't want to upset anybody, but dogs die.
What?
They go to a place where there's a pasture, they run forever of all eternity with other dogs. We just said those are our dogs over our lives that we rescued. We're really into pit bull rescue and rehabilitation, and we're big pit bull advocates. We have 2 pit bulls now pictured in the back of the book. And actually, what's kind of cool? It was really fun. We got to have a pit bull scene in this because, when a white girl is walking around with the same dog, Snoopy, she has no problem, no one harasses her. But in Orion, when Orion, as an African American kid, walks into a dog run with a pit bull, and people start, basically racially profiling the dog, which happens to me. I walk my dogs 2-3 times a day, and people just out of nowhere come up and they're like, "Don't you know they're born to kill? Don't you know this, that, the other thing?" And our dogs are perfectly trained and they're canine good citizens, and we feel like that was a really demonstrative, kind of how people will profile not only humans but creatures. Okay, way in the back with the pink backpack on your lap. You're gonna have to yell, or you're gonna have to relay this question.
What inspired you to write the second book?
What inspired us to write the second book? Well, for some genius reason, we thought that we would write a 4-part series. So we had to write 4 books. No, honestly, we thought it would be kind of cool. So changers, obviously, right? They live as they walk in the shoes of 4 different types of people: body, race, size, gender. And we thought it would be nice to give a whole year of actually living in a social world in high school. And changers obviously pick who they're going to be for the rest of their lives from those 4 identities. And we wanted to give them like a full year to do it. So that's why. If you have any ideas or thoughts for books 3 and 4, you can send those to us in a memo, an email. We'll get on that. Yes? The dogs are Milton and Elvis. And Elvis has blue eyes and is very good looking. And Milton is ruggedly handsome. Milton is from Brooklyn. And Elvis is from Los Angeles. Yes, sir?
What's it like to write a book collaboratively, and how do you ensure that the book has one voice?
It works fine because this is a new genre for both of us. I don't think I would collaborate with anyone on journalism, and I don't think T would collaborate with anyone on literary fiction. But because we were entering into it together, it seemed like a safe territory. And as far as the voice goes, it's interesting because often people think they know what section the girl wrote, what section the boy wrote, and it's often not true at all. And I think, lastly, we both care about the characters so much and feel like we understand them so much that creating that uniformity isn't really difficult at all. It's really fun. It's really fun. Yes, you.
When you created the book, how did you feel, and where were you when you created the book?
Well, where were we created the book, and how did we feel? We were at the park, like you said, and it just popped into our heads, and we felt really, as I'm sure you all do, when you have inspiration, be it with music or arts or writing or fashion or math or physics, whatever you're into, and you have that moment that you feel really alive and happy. That's how we felt. We felt great, and then we had to write it. That's when it becomes work. I mean, wow, there's so many. Yes, you.
I noticed in the first book that there are many characters, like the council and police and technology. Was it complicated to figure out like the personalities and the names?
Not really. That's part of the play of it. And the names, we often, to be honest, draw names from people that we know. So Turner is a person that we actually know, who's sort of a flaky guy, and we just amplified who he was. And then, actually, for the first book, we did a project where folks that wanted to donate like 20 copies to shelters or places where kids don't have access to books were allowed to name a character in the second book. So a couple of the names in the second book came from that outreach program, which was really cool. Yes?
Since you're not in middle school and you're not a boy and you're not a girl, like how do you ensure that the voice is authentic for the character, the lead character?
Yeah, I guess we just believe, like, as is the message of the book, that everybody is who they are inside and externals shouldn't really matter or factor in. And since that's how we roll through life, it's easier to inhabit those sort of different people. What was the second part of the question?
Yeah, like how did you, like, since you haven't been in middle school for
Oh.
a while, like how did you get the lingo of the day?
Yeah, well, we have 2 kids in middle school, and we're really immature. That's one reason.
Okay. I was going to say, too, also that, people, a lot of times we have to write in different voices. Like, Allison will spend, like, a week with, what's the backpack guy? Backpack basketball player. Kevin Durant, for instance. Or, like Hope Solo, a soccer player, or, people like that. And she's not them, and she doesn't live that rarefied life where you're driving around in Maybachs, but she can tell stories from their perspective. And also as a fiction writer, like that's what I do. Like we should all be able to understand and feel and empathize with what it's like to be another person, and for instance, we're not African American, we don't have that experience. We have some experience of experiencing what it's like to be different in the world. But you know, sometimes you get it right, sometimes you get it wrong, but you have to try. You have to really put yourself in and out and try to understand what it's like to be someone else who's different from you. Yes, the tallest hand in the back in the middle. Yes, yes, you. You're gonna have to relay the question too.
I have two questions. First one is Drew's dad, is Ethan's dad the performance team, is that in the original form?
Can you say that again?
Oh, is Ethan's dad in his original form? Is that the form that he's
Oh, Ethan's dad. Yes, so Ethan's dad. So changers come from a changer and a static family. Ethan's dad is the changer of that family. So Ethan's dad picked that version of himself out of the 4 people that he lived as. So there's a time in the book where he talks about possibly having chosen being a girl and kind of, you know, empathizing with Drew about, you know, maybe I wasn't brave enough to choose that. And times were different then and that kind of thing. That might be in book 2. It's all running together. You had a second question.
What's the power of a static?
What's the power of a static? That's a good question. We've never been asked that. I mean, in a way, we feel like statics are just people who haven't maybe been made aware about the fact that you can walk in another's shoes, and once statics come together with changers, they can learn what that's like. They can, you know, so in a way, Ethan's mom, and for instance, Audrey, and people who are sympathetic, like, those people are kind of what we think of as allies, right? And then you have the abiders out there, who are the anti-changers. Abiders, we feel, you know, you see those people all over culture today, people who don't want anyone to change, and everything has to stay the same. You can't, you know, be gay, you can't be poor, you can't be from another country. There's all these people who have issues with difference, and I guess we kind of feel like, in a way, if we were all changers, then who cares? It doesn't matter what you are on the outside. If Audrey and our character Ethan, Drew, Orion, if they're in love, it doesn't matter what's on the outside. Now, not everyone realizes that right away, and throughout the series you'll see how you make mistakes and then come around and make mistakes and come around, but that's what it's about. Yes?
What is the book cursed?
Say it louder.
What is the book cursed?
What is the book?
Cursed.
Why is it cursed so much? Oh. That's a lot less than we wanted. Do you know how much we took out? A lot of cursing. I'm sorry your sensibilities were offended. I know you're very proper. Because kids curse. Kids curse. That's why there's cursing. You know, has anyone heard of a guy named John Green?
He's the author of the Fun
I know. John Green's a friend of mine, and before we wrote this book, I emailed him and I gave him a list of curse words. And I said, just put a yes or a no next to the ones that we can use as YA writers, because we hadn't written as YA. And there were some that he definitely said, no. And those are not in the book. Yes?
What if you were dual language?
Maybe we are.
What if?
Would you use the book as a reference of what to do?
I don't know if it's a reference of what to do. I think it's, like we said before, everyone always talks about kids your age going through changes and everything. Yes, a horrible word. But we feel like you said earlier, everyone changes all the time, and you have to recognize it and embrace it, you know? How you in the glasses?
When you finish Teachers, are you going to make a new series or are you going to keep something?
It's so hard to hear. Yeah, I'm sorry. The air conditioner's here, and so you have to just shout. Or can you repeat it?
Since you're gonna when you finish Teachers, are you gonna continue making it or are you gonna make a new series?
That's a good question. I don't know. We thought about maybe doing one more book where there's like a big Civil War sort of deal between the Abiders and the Changers, but we haven't figured. Okay, maybe we'll do that.
Do it.
And then we'd probably go on to something new a different, and likely not a series, something that maybe more of a one-off. Yes, yes.
I have an idea. Why not a book called Static?
Yeah, well, I guess we feel like these are sort of include them, but you're right, like a spin-off book or a smaller book about how the static seal and the changers is kind of a cool idea. Sure.
So,
That's okay. Yeah, there's a girl behind you, yes.
Okay. Why did you include Jay's sexually assaulted Drew? Why would you want to do that?
Just because that's an experience a lot of girls have, it's an experience that I've had, it's an experience friends of mine have had, and I felt like it was really important to write about something that would be real and honest to the folks that are reading it. Behind you, sorry.
I have two questions. Where are you from, and are you going to sign our book?
We will definitely sign any books you guys want, absolutely. I grew up mostly in the South, in West Virginia, in a poor town of factory workers, and like in the mountains, like a hillbilly. That was me. And T grew up on the beaches of Malibu. So we're basically identical, really.
I lived here in New York City for 17 years, and we still have a home here on the Lower East Side, but I'm not from here, even though I feel like I'm from here. Yes, standing up. You're going to have to yell or relay the question again.
Okay, so two questions. And the first question is, are you ever planning on making a movie?
Oh, yeah.
Yes. We're trying to make it a TV show presently.
The TV show we're working for is on Netflix, and so we are trying to talk to people about it. You know what people don't like? Mean, rich adults who make decisions about TV. They don't like when the character changes each year because they think that kids are going to be so attached to Drew, whoever plays Drew, that they're going to be all hysterical and freaked out when suddenly Orion shows up the next year. So we're kind of trying to solve that problem, like maybe having an Ethan character tell the story and he stays the same, and then the other characters change. So, but yeah, we're really working on that. Yeah. Yes, please submit your headshot and a resume of all your acting work when we sign your book. What? Sounds good. Okay, yes, you there. The picture on what page? Is that the Changer's emblem? Oh, there's no pictures there. Which one are you talking about? 27? Oh, right, the Changer's emblem. Well, does anyone know Leonardo da Vinci, the artist? Okay, well, that's called the Vitruvian Man, and it's like a really old image. And usually it has two humans, but we kind of adapted that because changers have 4 different V's, so we kind of adapted it. And we just thought it was kind of one more thing, you know, changers have to keep themselves private, but they also have to be identifiable to the authorities, the Changers Council. So it was a way of like giving them a stamp, literally. Like a tattoo. Yes.
How do you create the emotion?
The question was, how did we create emotion for the book in order to make it interesting? Kind of like Allison just said, you know, trying to put the characters in situations that feel recognizable, even if there's something people have not actually lived through, and really trying to think like, what would it be like if you've lived your life this whole way and then suddenly become this other thing, but you're still the same person on the inside? So how does the outside world treat you then? And, you know, in this first book, it's obviously very much about being a girl and what that's like. And then in the next one, it's all of a sudden about being of a different race and experiencing being treated differently just because of what you look like on the outside. Yes? No, go ahead. I know, we're working on the TV show, I promise. We're trying very hard. And you know, I guess you'd be old enough to play that, so again, submit your headshot. Yes? Yeah, statics are basically regular people who've never heard of changers, except the chosen statics who you know, become in relationships with changers, and then in a way, Ethan's mom, you know, she's changer friendly, and you know, if you think about it, if this naturally goes through all of time, eventually everyone's a changer, and eventually it won't matter what we all are. We're still the same people on the inside, which isn't the worst way to go through the world. Yes. No, she asked if the statics are forced to be with the changers. No. Like with Ethan's parents, they just fell in love. And as with Drew and Audrey, you know, Drew's struggle is, do I tell? When do I tell? It's, you know, it's very much like other relationships. You know, we don't walk around with all of our, you know, past on our face or on our body, right? So when you get to know somebody, you slowly decide what you're going to reveal to them about yourself or your past or whatever. You don't walk up to someone and shake them in the hand and say, "Oh, my mom died when I was 4." You know, you talk about your past later. You know, so it's about building trust and finding the right static who will be accepting and you know, down with the mission. Yes, in the glasses next to you. Yeah.
So what? Wait. Oh, can I get that copy of the book?
Yeah, I want that copy.
That's a bold move, but it's my only copy to read from. We're doing an event tonight on the Lower East Side. I'm sorry. I know, we suck. I'll give it to you later. If you show up, I'll give it to you. Okay, next to you.
Okay. You see right here in the cover of the first book. I can tell that's you right there. Is this Jason right here, and then Audrey, and then Chase?
It's not really meant to be exactly who they are, but in the first cover, we have Drew in the front, and on the next one, Orion, who's on the right of the first book, swivels around, and now he's on the front of the next book, while Drew goes off to the left. So technically, these could be the next 2 people, though you can't quite tell who they are, can you? Yes.
Okay. See the cover of the book? See, you put this person in the front. Does that mean that it's the main character? This is the second book? Or Ryan's the first that you couldn't make a difference that he can be the main character?
Yeah. Basically, yeah. It's just kind of, and you know, did you notice how they're faceless? So, yes, it's true, but in a way, we want it to be, it could be anybody or it's everybody, you know? Yes, behind him. Yeah.
Okay, what does this quote that you have on your phone cover?
Say it louder.
Well, I don't understand the quote in front of the cover. Like, it starts with imagine.
Oh, this?
Like that little bubble.
Okay, imagine if every year of high school you woke up as someone else.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's just the premise of the series that, like, say you go to bed tonight and then tomorrow and you wake up and you're, I don't know, Melissa McCarthy or Justin Bieber. Nobody wants that, not even Justin Bieber. I was just told we have time for 1 or 2 more questions, but before that, I have a question for all of you. And the question is, if you could, would you want to wake up as someone completely different?
Yeah, I want to be able to.
Even if you couldn't choose who it was? Okay. All right, last two questions. Last two questions.
I could be the
I want to be that they can see their future.
Yeah, we just wanted to have a sort of magical element that suggested what, because I'm sure none of you have ever kissed anyone ever.